Okay, getting this started. Today's talk, welcome to May 2018. A little early in the server here. So we're going to go over today crypto security. And we're just going to approach this from a very beginner level place, which actually goes all the way up to very secure. So it's not that this is easier or harder or less secure or not secure. This is just kind of a good protocol to follow if you're getting into cryptocurrency. And I think one of the main premises we want to think about when we're talking about cryptocurrency is some of the decentralization, some of the abilities that, a currency like Bitcoin, for instance, allow us is great privacy potentially, although Bitcoin is not Anon at all. Don't think that. Great ease of sending back and forth, potentially low fees, potentially quick transaction times, and of course the decentralization aspect of the network being upheld by many people, not in one place. The flip side of that token is all of the security, what we're giving up by not using a centralized institution like a bank or a stock, something where you can keep your money, and if it goes away, it's insured and you'll get reimbursed by the government or the financial institution, is we have to be responsible for all of our access and security. So that maybe doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's important to remember because then you'll know what types of actions you can take to ensure that you're in a good place. And what's beginning to happen too is, you should go over these plans if you hold assets that you think are valuable or you think will be valuable rather. You should share that with your loved ones, make sure to go through the legal process of getting a will or, making your views expressly clear, or at least allowing people to access your funds, if you so desire. So it's important to think about those things when we're talking about security, because this is how anyone would theoretically access your stuff. So where I wanted to start is private keys. This is the most important aspect of any cryptocurrency. This is something that essentially is the key that unlocks the door to where your coins, tokens, whatever they are stored. So this can come in a QR code, and it can come in a actual string of characters. There's also a way to unlock via mnemonic device, which is very popular with hardware wallets, which we will get to wallets in just a second. So the private keys essentially are the keys to your house, the keys to your car. Don't lose those. They're also completely stealable if you post them. If I posted my private key to one of my wallets somewhere, anyone who sees that could immediately find out what my address, if they have my address, could unlock that door. So that's really important to remember. That's kind of like the single most important thing you want to guard. So yes, private keys, very important. Second thing I want to talk about is wallets. So I'm going to go from the more secure wallets to the less secure. When I say less secure, it doesn't mean that they're insecure or not secure. It means that they are they're theoretically easier to access. And a lot of this stuff you'll see at the end is not so much about hackers coming in and hacking your shit, which absolutely can happen, but a lot of it starts with, social engineering. And we'll go over what that means towards the end and some things you can do to guard yourself against that, or at least the companies that you work that potentially could expose your information, how to protect that. Okay, so let's talk about a paper wallet. Paper wallet is something you can generate. Basically, you come up with a key for yourself to unlock. You write it down. It's pretty basic. This is also something like, if someone's like, well, I don't know how to get a Bitcoin address, I don't want to sign up for a web wallet or whatever, I don't want to get a hardware wallet, it's too expensive, you could use a paper wallet. I don't use a paper wallet, but many people do. It's certainly viable. You just have to make sure that you have the mnemonic device or however you unlock that paper wallet, the QR code, the string of characters. You have access to that, and that would serve as your private key for a paper wallet. Okay. Next most secure way is a hardware wallet. You've probably heard of the Ledger or the Trezor. This isn't actually a wallet, and this is what's interesting. This is essentially a USB device or device that unlocks your address where your wallet is. So when I say it's not a wallet, for all intents and purposes, it is a wallet. Your stuff isn't actually on that USB device, but that's basically your key along with the 24-word seed phrase, given with something like the Nano S, the Ledger. that serves as your key to unlock your wallet, which is actually an address, right? This is for Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of the major coins or tokens you'd be holding, ERC20 tokens that could be stored on an Ether address. So you've heard probably of my crypto or my Ether wallet. Essentially what you're doing is if you connect your hardware wallet, you can, my Ether wallet will recognize that it's connected and it'll say, hey, do you want to open this wallet? And then you'll be prompted on your device to unlock with your PIN, potentially your mnemonic devices, and you'll be able to access then via a protocol like my Ether wallet. So that's important. Your address is actually where your coins and tokens are, and you're using something to unlock that address. Okay, so those are good. I recommend them. I use a Ledger Nano S. I think it's really important. You want to make sure that you're updating your firmware and kind of staying up to date. I think also psychologically, when you purchase a hardware wallet, it kind of flips something. It's not so nebulous or foreign or esoteric, if you will. It's you have a tangible device now, and I don't know. There seems to be some psychological benefit. Highly recommend doing that. Now let's talk about software. You could download something like Exodus. There's many other ones where you download a program and you open it and you have addresses that can be generated. You can send, receive. And you can also get specific wallets for your coins. Almost every single coin, even if they're a little obtuse to use, you can get the coin, run through their GUI, graphical user interface, and essentially open up and run, send, receive, run nodes if you were going to do that, and, keep your coins there. And that's a good option for a lot of these things. And truthfully, when you're first starting out, rather than going to exchanges and just getting involved in that world, I think it's important to go and get some actual wallets somewhere on a computer and see what's going on. That it's certainly a worthwhile endeavor. It kind of makes the process a little bit more clear on how these things work, I should say. So then there's also web-based wallets. This is the fourth category. This is something where you could go. My Ether wallet, as I mentioned, you can create Ethereum wallets. There are many other places that you can create wallets. Now, I will say BTC.com is a scam site run by Roger Ver, and they're going through some legal issues right now because they're trying to basically unknowingly change Bitcoin addresses or trick people into thinking that Bitcoin addresses, that are actually Bitcoin Cash addresses, and this can lead to loss of funds. So don't use BTC.com. That's very important. But there are many other. Blockchain.info is one. It's reliable. It's been around for a really long time. They're super easy to use. You can sign up for free, and you have a Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever address there is linked to them, and you now have an address. You can also use a tool like MetaMask, which is essentially a Chrome extension. I don't know if they have Firefox, probably. An extension that you use to open and create essentially an Ethereum address that you can unlock with MetaMask. That kind of serves as your key and point of focus for accessing a wallet via Ethereum. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this stuff. Like I said, hardware, I think, is probably the easiest. Maybe not the easiest. I think probably web-based or even a software is probably a little bit easier, but a hardware wallet is the most secure in my estimation, given how it's used and it just, again, the psychological benefit. So that is something that I do recommend. You're going to need a wallet. You can obviously just sign up on an exchange and they'll provide wallets for you, but you don't know. Remember I said private keys? You don't have access to those private keys. So your funds are there and you'll surely be reimbursed if you're not, do something stupid, but you could easily get hacked. And the way you would typically get hacked on an exchange would be one of two ways. One, you get phished. So you type in an address in Google or something, and then you click on it, and it takes you to a site that kind of looks like your exchange site, but it's not. And you go and enter your information. They just got your information. Then they will go to the actual exchange, enter that information, and do what they want with your funds. That happens a lot. That's a really easy way, and that kind of falls in like social engineering. They're tricking people, the people themselves, into revealing their information. So, on an exchange, you don't have access to your private key. So theoretically, technically, the money isn't yours, but I wouldn't get too caught up in that. But it is important to remember, if you have long-term investments that you're not going to touch, I wouldn't necessarily keep them on an exchange. Okay. How do you protect, speaking of exchanges, how do you protect your online identity and your passwords and your accounts? Okay. The easiest way to do this is something known as two-factor authentication. A lot of you may already be familiar with this, where you enter either a string of digits that is text to you, numbers that are texted to you, or used via a program like Google Authenticator or Authy. So of these two options, a lot of people choose to go SMS. And I understand that. It's easier. You don't have to download an app. You don't have to open it every time. It doesn't refresh every 60 seconds or whatever it is. I get it. That is less secure for a very big reason that we'll get to soon, related to phone security. That is less secure than going with something like Google Authenticator. Now, you're going to need a backup for your Google Authenticator. You want to make sure that if you break your phone, you lose your phone, you're able to access your Google Authenticator, because if that unlocks all of your accounts, you're going to need access to that particular app, and it's not going to make it easy for someone to create a replica of that. So you really want to back all of this stuff up. You're going to get prompted, whether it's a wallet, whether it's setting up a new account, you're going to want to back up all of the information associated with it. That's very, very important. So let's move on from two-factor authentication. That's something that absolutely should be enabled on every single account you're using, including email. Email is probably going to be the easiest way for someone intending to do harm to you to get into your account and find out what your other accounts are and potentially find out passwords and other information to go just kind of generally wreak havoc on your life, if that's something hackers or someone would want to do. So you want to be careful about your email passwords. You want to use secure passwords. You want to potentially be changing them frequently enough that they're not just sitting there. And you also maybe want to consider not having the same password for all of your accounts. That's pretty important too. So think about those things when you're setting up your email. You can always change that. A lot of people use Gmail. Be very aware of, again, phishing. So if someone sends you an email that you don't know, or it looks like someone you know, and you click it and you put in some information, that you probably just got phished. So be very careful. You can also set up two-factor authentication for your email if you want. So depending on your email provider, but most services provide that. And now let's talk about phone security. Phone security is really important because this is also, if someone really wanted all of your stuff, right? Most people have their backup systems linked to their phone. Oh, text me this, blah, blah, blah. You know, I get this email to this thing. How do you protect your phone, right? What do you do? Listen, I am not a security expert and I don't purport to be one. However, one thing that you can do is make sure that someone can't claim to be you with your phone company. So a lot of people get very paranoid about this. They won't post images of their phone, or they won't say what service provider, which is probably smart. But if you do, let's say you're a T-Mobile user and you've posted a screenshot of something and it's somewhere publicly that someone could access, and they know you use T-Mobile, what they could do is potentially call up your phone company and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. If they have your information, if they've gleaned that, I would like to change this setting and switch it here, boom, 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 boom. And if they have enough information and can trick the customer service person, which potentially might not be that hard to do, they can assume your identity and have your essential phone number. That's very important. That is a critical loss at that point. You'll see when people are unsavory characters online and they get hacked, or just regular people getting hacked, that is something that happens. So that's social engineering. They're just tricking someone on the phone, pretending to be someone else. So it's really important to remember that the line of defense here that we're really talking about is people. People are the easiest line of security to break. The very complicated cryptographic systems that are involved with cryptocurrency, they're not going to be cracked. That's why they're so good. That's why people like them. It's a big element that people really enjoy about cryptocurrency is they're impossible to steal someone by guessing their Bitcoin address and stealing it all in their private key, right? So that is something that you really want to keep in mind when you are using security issues. You're kind of the point of attack, or your phone company is. So one thing you can do for your phone company is set up a PIN, or you can call your phone company and say, hey, listen, unless someone gives you this information, do not grant them access to my account. That's fair. And I think that's probably a wise thing to do. And, some people will be like, well, you're using your real name on this. That's really not good operational security, OPSEC. Yeah, there are enough people who use their real names that I think you don't want to taunt people. And this is the last point I'd like to make, and this is really important. Don't make yourself a target. Don't brag about how much money you've made. Don't be rude to other people. Don't make other people feel bad online. Don't do something that you wouldn't do with, let's say, a wad of like $100 bills in a busy city. If you want to run around and start bragging how much money you have and holding out your money and calling people assholes, oh, I'm so rich, fuck you, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you probably can expect a bad thing to happen over time. If you just kind of keep that in mind, if you're on social media or if you're in a public forum and you're really just acting like a dick, or just maybe not acting, just like acting like a buffoon, that makes you a target. A lot of people who I've seen in the crypto space who get targeted and hacked are braggadocious, they have large egos, they are mean to other people, and it seems like there's kind of a vigilante community that has taken up arms to make those people maybe try to question what they're doing. I don't know if it does it, but that certainly seems like something that happened. But for the most part, security isn't that difficult. It's just understanding the principles behind it and also really trying to make sure that you are aware of how you're backing everything up, all the accounts your stuff is attached to, how to protect those first and foremost, and then just obviously being aware of the very important private keys relative to your accounts and addresses, I should say. So with that, I think we will call it a day. Got something on the stove. So yeah, quick episode, crypto security. It's good stuff. All right. Bye-bye.